All of us.
All of us.
All of us.
All of us are lost.
All of us are lost.
Lost. Lost.
Hello and welcome to All of Us Are Lost, a rewatch podcast delving into the mysteries of the island that wasn't the TV show Lost. I am Kat, and joining me on this journey down the hatch is Andy. And today, after a little break, we are back to delve into series 2, where we're discussing not 1, not 2, but the first 3 episodes, because we kind of felt that it's basically the same story, right, Andy? These first 3 episodes just cover kind of the same couple of events from about 20 different perspectives.
Yeah, we last left, a few of the survivors had just been blown off a raft. Walt has gone missing or been kidnapped. They've entered the hatch, Jack and the like, they've opened the hatch at the end. I think that was our last kind of shot we saw. And yeah, these 3 episodes, they have almost a feel of, can you remember what happened last series? Like, they're giving you a little bit of a taster of what they maybe want you to know going forward instead of fully moving on. So yeah, I think it's right to cover the first 3 because, and yeah, as you said, a lot of the same scene from different characters' perspectives. So quite difficult to sort of split that into a different chat, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the whole reminder kind of makes sense because this would have been a few months after series 1 had aired, and this is kind of before it's before social media was a massive thing, and even really like the internet itself was particularly big. So I guess they kind of needed to do the needling. But when you are doing kind of a watch like reel where we're going like straight from the series 1 finale into series 2, it does feel a bit like, come on, let's move on with this. I know this. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I definitely found myself watching ahead a wee bit more as well, which I won't go into, just because there hadn't been a huge amount of development. I've wanted to find out a bit more about where the story's leading, but yeah, it's definitely, as you can tell, as you said, because of the break, rewatching wouldn't have been as easy back then as well. When this was released, it wouldn't have been like we've been doing, putting Netflix on and watching as much as we want. We didn't really have that option unless you'd bought the DVDs, which even if they would have been out, I'm not even too sure if they'd come out so soon. It was, you had to wait and see if it would come back on at a certain point. So yeah, it's understandable, but on a rewatch, when you're kind of going simultaneously with them, it's a bit, sticks a wee bit.
And 23 million people tuned in to watch the first episode, Man of Science, Man of Faith. I mean, that's sort of numbers that we just don't get anymore. And I can't really remember what my reaction was. I mean, I know my reaction this time is kind of a little bit disappointed, but I'm guessing I'd forgotten so much the first time around that I quite enjoyed that remembering. And I do enjoy the way that it opens, because it opens inside the hatch as we kind of get a little montage of the day in the life of the hatch's inhabitant. He seems to work out a lot. He's I mean, I guess if you're on your own and you've got nothing else to do, I guess you might as well stay in some sort of shape. And he seems to have an admiration for make your own kind of music. I'm not sure what other records are in there, but he definitely seems to favour that song above all the others.
Yeah,
it's kind of sets up the mystery of who is this person quite nicely, I think.
Yeah, because obviously we see his morning routine. Make Your Own Kind of Music is a song that anytime I hear it now, I just imagine the edit with Pedro Pascal that you always see with Nick Cage from, I can't remember the name of it, but where Nick Cage plays Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal's in it and they're driving along the road. There's always an edited videos of that, shorts with different sort of headlines to it. But yeah, we've seen this person's routine. At the time, we don't really know what they're doing or who they are, sorry. They as you said, work out and inject themselves with something. And then we hear the explosion. So that leads us to the point where we realise, oh, this is coming from inside the hatch that we've had for pretty much the majority of season 1, been wondering what's going on inside it. So, yeah, the intrigue's kind of right there from the start again.
Yes, but I think before we delve into the hatch anymore, we're going to jump ahead a little bit and discuss the guys on the raft, because I think the hatch story, there's a few more arms to that, whereas the raft, which kind of comes into play more in the second episode, Adrift, is much more focused on Michael and Sawyer. And
Yeah.
in terms of flashbacks, we have Michael, and it's the custody battle for Walt, which again is something that we knew that Walt got taken away from Michael, and this is kind of just filling it in, which feels it feels a little bit like, okay, yeah, well, I didn't need to see this as such. I kind of connected the dots from last time, but
Yeah.
I think from doing some reading, this wasn't supposed to be the original flashback. The original flashback was supposed to be about Sawyer, but
Okay.
Harold kicked up a bit of a stink and pushing for a bit more representation of people of color in the show and featuring Michael a little bit more. And eventually he kind of wore them down, and they decided
Right.
to delve into this story of Michael and Walt and kind of explore that father-son dynamic. But I think there was still maybe ruffled some feathers, because I think he was then released from his contract earlier than he was potentially going to be.
Okay.
So yeah, it's an interesting decision to tell Michael's story, I think.
Especially this part anyway, like it's it's certainly an interesting hill to die on, because this, you're basically filling in blanks of a story that you know, but it's not adding any more interest. It doesn't add anything. You already know he's lost Walt. You already know that he has issues with his ex-partner, um, and it's very filler. It is, I think this is the thing with the 3 flashbacks that we'll discuss. They're filling in the blanks of parts that you already know and that you don't really need, apart from, for me, one kind of scene that we get. And this is a really, it's, to be honest, it's really dull. Like, you're watching a courtroom procedural that's not particularly exciting when you're watching Michael's flashbacks. We get one sort of interesting kind of tidbit near the end. But no, it takes you away from everything. And even the raft episode, or it does jump about, but this one's mainly around the raft. It's a lot of just Michael and Sawyer arguing with each other and nothing really happening. There's a shark. That's about it. Like, it's not a huge episode to kind of reintroduce these characters.
No, and I think the only real sort of thing of worth for me in the flashback is the scene where you see Michael saying kind of hello, because he's not really seen him for a while, and goodbye to a young Walt. I will say they did phenomenal casting on whoever played young Walt, because this is like toddler Walt, and toddler Walt looks very much like he could grow up to become the Walt that we've just seen get kidnapped. And Michael has a gift, and it's a polar bear. I don't know what it is about Walt and polar bears. It's like they've been following him around his whole life. They're in his comics, they're in his room.
They're on his island, which
Yeah.
could be his island. That's. I think you've kind of summed it up enough with that flashback. He gives him a polar bear, he says bye, and that's it. And I think we can just draw a line in the sand on that one, to be honest. And even the raft stuff is really, it's very middling, I think would be the kindest way to describe it, because nothing happens. The two, Sawyer and Michael, arguing, blaming each other for the situation they're in, and then eventually settling on a pontoon, and kind of they go from there.
Yeah, I will say it did take them far longer than I liked for them to be like, oh yeah, gin. Jin's still in the water. It's all like,
Yeah.
Walt. They're arguing about how Walt can't hear you. He's been taken on a boat. He's not going to be able to hear you. And then, it's quite a while later when then Sawyer starts shouting Jin, and it's like,
Mm.
poor guy. Like, you
Yeah.
could just be, like, don't bother saving him.
Yeah, and the heat. I don't know if I misheard it, but I think at the start of the episode you hear Jin's voice once shouting on Sawyer, and I think that's it. But you don't see him after that until we're into kind of episode 3 territory. There's nothing from him. So has he just kind of swam off? Like, we don't know. It's such a strange. It was just a strange. It felt like almost like an ADR thing that they got Sawyer shouted, and that was it. And then that yeah, they just forgot about him because they're too busy splashing each other with water.
Yeah, blaming each other. Michael feels guilty that he's lost Walt again, and he's saying it's Sawyer's fault because he shot the flare, which brought the people. But the whole point of the raft, where they're supposed to be looking for rescue, obviously it's Sawyer that kind of realizes that those people are the others because of the type of boat. I don't quite know
Yeah,
when Sawyer became an expert on boats, but he suddenly has, and he's like, well,
yeah,
no, that's got to have come from the island. There's the nice little bit where Sawyer performs surgery on himself and pulls a
mm,
bullet out of his shoulder. I mean, I'm sure that's not going to have done any sort of internal damage or
no,
infection. The salt water in there and stuff. And yeah,
mm,
then we get the shark, which, yeah, of course, why wouldn't there? Why wouldn't there be sharks?
yeah, yeah,
But I think this early on in the series, I don't think anybody is expecting a big character to get eaten by a shark. So I
no,
don't think it's got the peril that maybe they were hoping that scene might conjure up.
yeah. It's a very slow shark as well. Like Sawyer's swimming with one arm, and it's you see it kind of chasing after him. Obviously, Michael shoots it, but you think it would have caught him easier, but no, he manages to get away. And then one thing I did find quite funny was when they wake up in the morning and they have a bit of a conversation before realising there's a giant island just to the right of them. They kind of look shocked towards it, as if they hadn't noticed it before. But again, that's maybe just to sort of signify them. I think Sawyer says we're home at that point, so maybe they've accepted their fate. But yeah, it's okay. It gets more interesting once they kind of find land again.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we should maybe let's just stay with these guys.
Mm,
And so they eventually come to shore, and who comes running towards them but Jin, who has been like tied to like a log, or so he's got like some wood, but his hands are bound behind his back, and he just runs up and he says others, and then that is
mm,
where episode 2 ends. So
mm-hmm.
again, bearing in mind people would then have a week to wait to get
Yeah,
to to get to what happens next, and it's they are set upon by a group and thrown into a pit where again they're kind of just bickering amongst
yeah.
themselves. I mean, they're trying to get information out of Jin, and it's like I'm not sure that Sun's little dictionary covered this kind of kidnap
No,
situation. I'm not sure she was planning that when she was writing all the words for him.
no, yeah. As you said, that is again a case of they're just kind of waiting about. They've went from waiting about on a raft to now waiting about in a makeshift prison. We have brief glimpses of the others, or what we believe to be the others. And then probably the most interesting aspect is when they get joined by another captive. Captive, that the right word? Yeah, that's. And it's someone we've seen before, briefly, in Series 1, with Michelle Rodriguez making her long-awaited return. Was she expected to return? Was she always in Season 2? I don't know. But she then gets thrown into the pit alongside them, and we find out a slightly bit more about what the others are trying to do. Well, we don't really actually. No, we just find out that, well, other things.
Well, because she's kind of in there, and they immediately spill their guts and give their story, and then Anna Lucia reveals that she was also on the plane, which is something that we, the audience, know to be true because we saw her talking to Jack at the end of series one in
Hmm.
the bar, uh, and that's when they realise that some people have survived from the back of the plane, and Sawyer, in classic Sawyer mode, instantly reveals that they have a gun, and then suddenly Anna Lucy is getting out of the hole and is turning on them, for what reason I don't think is sort of gone into just yet, but
Hmm.
I'm not it's like there's just
Yeah,
something about
yeah.
there's just something about these people that I'm not sure that these people are the others, and if they were the others, why they would be throwing this. Because if they were the others, then that would mean that Anna Lucia has been kept captive for the last 40 odd days, and they've
Hmm.
just bundled her in. I think it's quite obvious that these aren't the others that Russo has spoken of.
Yeah, yeah. There's kind of main character when after he carries Anna Lucia out, I think he says to her, "Who are they, or what do they know, or what do you know about them?" So, and not in a sort of calculated way that we've seen with an Ethan from series one, where he, if he was questioning, they say it seems very hectic and very panicked. The guy that's been the sort of main character. Um, so they've not got that sinisterness about them. They almost as if they've been working off the cuff as well, a bit like the other survivors have done. So it's interesting. Yeah, and as you said, we heard before that through Boone's uh, tragic second airplane crash, that other people were on the island from the crash, or that's what we believe we heard anyway. So could be that it's them. It could be that those are maybe Rosie's husband's at the back of that. He could be there. You never know. Can't remember.
I mean, it's like if these if it is Anna Lucia and other people from the back of the plane, like they went Lord of the Flies really really quickly. They've been digging holes, they've been making traps, they've been just capturing anybody and like taking them into sort of like their torture pit. It's like you've got kind of the civilized side of the island with like Jack and Locke and Charlie and Saeed and that, and then you've just got feral on this other
Mm,
side. I mean, are they trying to say something about passengers on the front of a plane versus the back of the plane? I'm not sure.
yeah. I mean, it could also be just the luck where they've landed. We've seen the survivors on the front have managed to find decent food sources before, and the pigs that they've had, the boar, they've also found shelter in caves. They've found a running water source. We don't know what the other ones have been through. Have they witnessed the smoke monster? Have they been to Blackrock? Have they witnessed any more of the others? Or have they just been kind of really, really struggling a bit more than what the ones we've been seeing have?
It's true. I mean, they don't have a Saeed, they don't have a John Locke. And those
Yeah.
two, particularly in the early days, were, were paramount in the organization of the group. You've got Jack, who's a doctor. So yeah, I'm interested in finding out a little bit more about them. But to say that this story takes place across 3 episodes, it really doesn't feel like 3 episodes worth of story. This feels like
Mm,
this could have all been tied up in one, have Sawyer and Michael bicker for like the first half, come to shore, and then have what happens in the third episode happen during the second half. But
mm.
I guess this is back when TV was 20 plus episodes a season and they needed to fill those episodes. And I guess that's why this story kind of got dragged out as much as it did.
Yeah. It's something we think we spoke about in the first series as well. the sort of second plot to the main plot. And the raft, while what's happened to them is important, it is very much the second plot to what's going on along kind of with the Hatch and Jack and Locke. So it's very, again, filler heavy with those two and the kind of progress in their story, because you see, as you said, like there's not time jumps, but sort of jumps back from the end of episode 1 into the raft time, is then back again to almost the start of when they open the hatch. So it's I mean, you're talking matter of hours, maybe. We don't know exact timelines, but it's not a huge amount of time that's passed on in either storyline.
No, I think it's basically like a night, and I think it's like a night. Well, I mean, like a night and maybe like a bit of a day. Yeah, it's weird. And I mean, in terms of wider island life, we see very little. Shannon goes looking for Vincent and finds Walt. She has a vision of Walt dripping with water. I think I sort of did some research, and apparently Walt is saying, "Don't push the button bad," but he's saying it backwards, which is why Shannon, you can't understand what we're saying, but apparently, somebody has, done some detective work, and that's apparently what he's saying. And we know that the last time he saw John Locke, he was saying, like, don't open it, don't go to the hatch, sort of thing. So I guess it kind of makes sense, but I don't quite know why we've got like visions of Walt visiting Shannon. She's not necessarily been particularly front and center. And I think other than that, it's kind of just Charlie reassuring people that Russo was crazy and that no one's coming for them. And there's nothing really that sticks out to
Charlie's a Virgin Mary
outside.
again, just to remind you of that. Give this to the baby. Give the heroin-filled deity to the baby. It's very good.
Well, it's tough to get kids to sleep.
That'll help.
And there's not a huge amount. Hurley was involved with the hatch, but then Hurley kind of immediately washes his hands of it and returns to island life and kind of doesn't want any part of it. So that just leaves then Jack, Kate, and Locke, who stay with. Well, I mean, they don't stay with it. They open the hatch, and then they kind of Locke insists that he wants to go into it, and then Kate decides to come and help him, and then Jack comes along later, and we get this story played out 3 different times. And I remember in the first episode, Man of Science, Man of Faith, you see Locke lower Kate down into the hatch, and Kate's quite nervous about it, and then she suddenly screams. There's a blinding light, which Locke doesn't really seem too concerned with. Oh, okay. And then the next time we see the hatch is when Jack turns up and Locke is nowhere to be seen. And I remember thinking, like, well, what's gone on there? And then that's not revealed until a later episode. And again, if you're watching this weekly, it's like, what? They just jumped on. But we do get to see. But we do get to see a little bit inside the hatch in this episode, as Jack goes in looking for Kate and finds instead a Locke being held hostage by that mystery person.
So we see Hatch. We see Jack as he's walking through the hatch, and he comes across a point, and there's like a highly magnetized part of the corridor. The necklace he's wearing is starting to get the keys got on. Sorry, is starting to get pulled towards something. That could mean something later on. And he notices shoes, which we later find out are Locke. He takes his shoes off as he's walking through the hatch. and he's getting a gun pointed at him, and Jack, the guy says to him, I can't remember the exact quote, but it ends with the line, brother, broad Scottish accent. And there's obviously a hint of recognition, or more than a hint of recognition in Jack's eyes, due to his flashback that we've seen earlier on in the episode. Probably the only point in any of these three flashbacks that I felt were kind of worthwhile, to be honest. But we've got a segment of, again, something that's already happened that we know has happened, where Jack meets his future wife, and this is the kind of in between part where he's operating on her to save her, and it kind of goes on from there.
Yeah, so it starts in the ER with her being brought in. She's been in a car wreck, and she has been brought in with a Mr. Rutherford, who is more than likely Shannon's dad, because Shannon is Shannon Rutherford, and he's fixated on working on this woman, and they're saying, like, this guy also needs attention, and unfortunately he flatlines before Jack can get over to him. And yeah, it's the woman is likely going to be paralyzed for life. She's engaged to probably one of the worst fiancés ever seen in TV, because all he's bothered about is if he's going to actually have to, like, look after his wife. Is she going to be paralyzed where he's going to have to spend the rest of his life looking after her? And then he kind of just ghosts her, which is a bit brutal, but then opens the door for Jack to form a relationship, which we know, again, we know this is what happens, and it is kind of filling in the blanks. I think that the Rutherford thing is an interesting little tidbit for, again, the interconnectivity, which we talked about a lot in series one. But then we get Jack doing a stadium run, which just sounds insane, where you run up and down all of the stairs in the stadium. And he meets somebody else also doing that. And it is Desmond, who's going to go on a solo round the world
Race.
boat. Yeah, race on a boat, I assume. And yeah, he's also very Scottish. I mean, as a Scottish person, how does Desmond represent you guys?
From what I've seen of him, yeah, he seems fairly friendly. Scottish people are very friendly most of the time, quite a lot of the time. Yeah, and it's an actual Scottish actor, so I think, yeah, he is, isn't he? Definitely Scottish. So the accent works. But I don't know, the stadium thing really confused me. Like, is security that lax in big stadiums in the US? Because you could not get access to anywhere like that here. If I was to try to go to Celtic Park and say, I'm just going to run up and down the stairs, and we're not, fuck off. Like, private property, go away. Must be, unless they've got contacts, it could be that. But yeah, he seems friendly enough in the initial interaction with Jack, but then he's obviously maybe a bit more paranoid and aggressive when we meet him later on down the hatch, as it turns out.
I mean, the episode is called Man of Science, Man of Faith, and that has been a big thing of series one, with Jack being the man of science and Locke being the man of faith. But I think in the flashback, you kind of come to realize that Desmond is probably the man of faith that the title refers to, because it's all to do with Jack's just under surgery. He doesn't think it's going to work, and Desmond is very keen to say, but there there could be a chance. Stranger things have happened, whatever. And then, as it turns out, Jack has somehow performed a miracle. And I do wonder if he has thought back on that conversation, and that is why. Because I'm not sure that. So it was clearly a while ago. Because we know obviously that Jack has been married and then is no longer married. So it's got to have been some sort of passage of time. And I'm not sure that I can remember every random person that I've had a conversation with. So there must be something about what Desmond says that has stuck with Jack to some degree for him to then remember him. Because, yeah, Desmond is the person occupying the hatch. And, this island really is a small world. We've got Jack having crossed paths with Shannon's dad. We've got Sawyer having spoken to Jack's dad. We've got Hurley showing up on TV in Korea. And then we've got, Jack and Desmond had met before, and here they are both on this island.
Yeah. And it's our first sort of flashback full interaction with two islanders, obviously, that aren't aware of each other in the same way that we've had before. But it'd be interesting to have any more of those type interactions with people. But it could be it's just the only Scottish person he's ever met, especially when the exercises and says brother. Brother's not a thing. I've never said that. But
You've never said in
for
another life. That's not how you guys say goodbye to each other. See you in another life, brother. That's not.
No, I'm actually see you later. Like, see you after. I'll give you a ring if we're going to phone them. Like, no, it's never not a balance I've ever used. But yeah, it could be that it is a very distinct way of speaking that Desmond has, and if it's an encounter that's obviously stuck with Jack because of what it was, what he was running, basically waiting for the recovery process to sort of finish. So aye, it's obviously that has had such an impact on him that it's because he recognised him straight away. It's not even just a slight recognition. Although Desmond doesn't seem to have that same. I mean, it's a generic American guy for him, though, isn't it? Like, you might have one Scottish guy running up and down a stadium, you meet an American guy, it could be anyone. That's what it'll be.
Yeah. And that's where the first episode stops. And then this sequence is kind of rewound and extended across the next couple, seeing from different people's point of views. So with Kate and Locke, we see them kind of getting captured by Desmond, and Desmond wanting Kate to tie Locke up, and then Locke immediately turns on Kate and says, "Oh no, she's the dangerous one." I mean, I get that he knows that Kate can sort of handle herself and that Kate will be able to get out of any restraints, whereas he himself might struggle. But it's still like, come on, John, like have a little bit of loyalty to Kate. Like at least wait a couple of minutes before we start going, well, actually. But he immediately throws Kate under the bus, and she ends up being sort of held hostage while John Locke tries to reason with Desmond after. I think it was as he arrives, Desmond's like, "Are you the one?" And John's like, "Yeah, sure, I'm the one." But then he doesn't know the answer to what did one snowman say to the other snowman, and he's rumbled.
Yeah. And I was trying to work out that riddle. It's not one I've heard before. Oh, well, apart from when I've watched this initially, I'm sure maybe they find out what the answer is. Nice to meet you. I don't know. Maybe that. Could be that. But yeah, the Locke thing, he's so convinced as well that maybe when Desmond does say, "Are you him?" he believes him to be that person that Desmond's looking for. Like, he's got this whole, as we said, faith-based reason for being on the island, or his reasoning for being on the island. It could be that he does believe himself to be that person, and he just gets completely turned around on straight away. And with Desmond's paranoia as well, or what seems to be very paranoid, he's not expecting to see one. They've already mentioned before they actually went down that the hatch says quarantine on it. So is the quarantine from the outside, which Desmond does say at one point, is the world still there? Like, from what we've seen, it seems to be okay, but we don't know how long he's been stuck down there, what he's been doing. But for the survivors, is he being quarantined from them? So are they now in danger? They've heard about people going crazy, people getting sick from Russo. Has this been caused by the man in the hatch, Desmond?
Yeah, it does start to open up some more mysteries. It's like, what was he injecting himself with? I mean, I would assume it's like vitamins, because he clearly lives in that hatch, so he's not getting like into the sun very much. And as the story progresses, it kind of reveals that he arrived on the island and was sort of taken to the hatch by somebody else and was basically told that he had to press a button, do a
Yeah.
sequence of numbers and press a button every 108 minutes. So
Yeah.
again, we're getting into 108 being a relevant number to the series. And yeah, there's like tallies marks on the walls, which I guess obviously like he's counting his days, and there's a lot of tallies. And you know, he mentions that the other person in the hatch didn't make it, and he has basically been living for who knows how long, getting up every 108 minutes to tap in these numbers. And yeah, I think that probably would drive you a little bit
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, because you're not getting any real level of sleep, and I think he's been there for 3 years. Is it? And if it's 108 minutes, you're napping basically, aren't you? That's all you're getting. Never getting a full night's sleep, so could have driven you slightly wild. We do see that Kate gets locked in a food cupboard though, so there's rations for them. That'll be handy moving forward if they can make peace with Desmond. But yeah, it's. I think he says that is it Kelvin. Kelvin died. Was his friend, so we don't know what's happened to Kelvin. We've heard about people turning on each other in this island, and if Desmond is paranoid and crazy, has he led to Kelvin's death? But yeah, it's this point I'm kind of getting myself mixed up between, because this would have been. This is before then we start seeing it from Kate, don't we? After this point, because she's now managed to find a way of breaking out. And so we've got her now from the same perspective, the same scene is playing over again. Kate getting her way out and managed to find a gun and knocks Desmond to the floor. And he then is telling, I've jumped ahead again, because this is the bit he also gets locked to put numbers into the computer. And those are numbers, we've heard 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. Yeah. So numbers that we've seen before that were on the hatch that Hurley's so paranoid about, that he's convinced there's a curse on, and Kate, jumping back to where I was, Kate gets out and knocks Desmond to the ground, and we start to get a bit more of an explanation. We've seen stickers about for a Dharma something, a company that we're assuming that is sort of running the show down in this hatch, and when there's the sort of standoff, the computer gets blown up, so that Desmond then just starts going into full panic mode because he's not going to be able to type in his numbers.
Yeah, and I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen if those numbers aren't entered. But it is are they going to risk it? I did enjoy Kate doing her little John McClane and sort of crawling through the air vents to get herself out, and then as Desmond's desperately trying to fix the computer, they send Kate to get Saeed because Saeed is no good with technology, and then Jack and Locke are told to go and watch the orientation tape. And we watch this little video which seemingly explains what's happening in the hatch but doesn't remotely explain what's happening in the hatch.
No, there's supposed to be basically part of, I've written it down, the Swan, which is Station 3 on the island. So there's obviously more of these, or maybe not hatches, but lookout posts or outlooks or whatever you want to call them. A communal research compound where they were looking to basically have scientists live on the island and work on the island and try to unpick the mysteries for what they see of the island, because there's what I think he says is unique electromagnetic fluctuations. I think I've written, yep. Which, again, we've seen the slight magnetism for Jack's thing. And because of that, they need to, every 108 minutes, type in this code. I mean, it's an explanation of sorts. It tells us that they have to push the buttons and who's told them to push the buttons, but there's never a real full reason given for it. We do see there's polar bears in the video, so, and they do think about zoological experimentation, so maybe they've brought the polar bears with them to test them on the island. But this then, just for Locke, is he's then becoming obsessed with this video. He wants to watch it again, and he wants to kind of try and pick it apart even more than what. So he's now the hatch is out the way. He's now got a new obsession. He's got the numbers on the computer. He's got the video of the Dharma Initiative. I can imagine he's going to want to know if this is station 3, where are stations 1 and 2, and is there any more than that? So he's moved on from one obsession to the next.
Which is something that we see in his flashback, because episode 3 is a John Locke flashback, which in series 1 were my favourite episodes. And so I was really excited when I saw that we were flashing back to John Locke. But I was just very disappointed because, again, as with the other 2 flashbacks, it's not really it's not filling in a gap because it is continuing on. This does take place after John's dad has stolen his kidney, but it just doesn't go anywhere. He's in an anger. It's called Transforming Anger. He's basically in a self-help group for people with anger issues, and I do love the start of the flashback because he's in this group and there's this woman like moaning that like her mum's stolen like $30 or whatever it is from her. And then John Locke's like, $30? Oh, boo-hoo. My dad stole my kidney. Which I just thought was like, I mean, if you're sat in that group, you're just kind of feeling really shit about it. Like, oh God, yeah, okay, maybe like I shouldn't be so petty. And then he meets Katie Siegel, or Gemma from Sons of Anarchy, playing a much nicer character than she did in Sons of Anarchy. And she immediately flirts with John. She says that she likes bold men, and John's not bolding at the moment, but she's like, I can wait. And it kind of seems like, okay, maybe something's going to go right for John. And she's keen. She gives him like a key to her house and stuff, but she just asks that he spends the night over, because what he's actually doing is he is obsessed with his father who abandoned him. There's a brief scene where his father turns up and says, like, I don't need you, I just wanted you for your kidney. He reveals that he's moved house and John has followed him. He's followed him as he's moved house, and he basically spends his days and his nights just sat outside. I don't quite understand what his motivation is, but it ultimately leads to being given an ultimatum between his obsession and his girlfriend, and he doesn't like being told what to do, so he kills that relationship. And it's like, I feel that John Locke would have had a much happier life if he'd have just chosen her. And he can still walk, so we still don't know why he ended up in that wheelchair. Like, how many flashbacks is it going to be until we finally get that accident?
Yeah, it is very, again, a disappointing flashback. He gets an interaction with his dad who says, look, you're not the first person I've conned. Just give up, go away, leave me alone. But obviously he's threatening him to an extent, but he obviously knows John's still going to be out there, so he's not really done much about it. So it's a bit of nothing again. He's still back to square one. Is he still going to, the next flashback for John, is he still going to just be sitting outside that house? It just seems a bit, again, very fillery, but filling in nothing, really. There's not even a blank filled in. He had a girlfriend and he didn't in the space of 5 minutes, and that's kind of it. Maybe it's about his obsessive nature. It could be kind of touching on that with the thing with his dad, and he wants to find out because he asks why, doesn't he? He just says why. And he doesn't really get an answer that suits him then. And it's interesting. So he said there, he doesn't like being told what to do, but then going back to the hatch, when the computer's all busted up and Desmond then tries to reboot it and just the power completely shuts down, so Desmond essentially bolts. He says, good luck everyone, have fun, maybe see you in 40 minutes, I don't know. And John shouts, "What am I supposed to do?" For someone that is wanting that sort of, he wants to be independent and wants to be able to figure things out on his own on the island. It's not the first time we've seen him kind of shout something like that. He shouted it to the, I think when he wasn't able to get into the hatch after Boone had died, something along similar lines. Show me or tell me what you want me to do. But on this island, he's wanting to be led instead of being that sort of independent spirit that he has been before.
I think John just wants to, he just wants to be part of something. He wants to be a part of something and he wants to feel special. And the hatch has presented it, and this, computer and pressing a button has, it's given him in that opportunity. And yeah, Desmond scarpers into the woods and Jack finds him. They have a conversation, about the fact that Jack's not with his wife anymore, and then Desmond's just like, I'm getting as far away from here as I can because the island's going to blow up. And we get to the point where they kind of manage to sort of like fix the computer. And there's been this whole thing with Jack saying like, well, we're not going to get into this, it's not going to do anything, we're not going to press a button. And yet when it counts down to those last few minutes, they do put in those numbers. So they, I guess, so much has happened on this island now that everybody is superstitious to some degree. I mean,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Are you going to enter those? Are you going to enter those numbers, or are you going to see what happens? Yeah, there's been a guy doing it for 3 years. Are you going to believe him, or are you just going to think, hang on a minute, this just feels a bit nuts?
I'm not much of a faith person, so I think I would maybe. But then again, it's through the experience, isn't it? Jack is the logical one technically, and he is the one that inputs the numbers because Locke tells him to. And it feels, I think, push comes to shove, I probably would end up just doing it because if you're going to be stuck there, you might as well do something. You found food down there. They've got a movie to watch. There's books, CDs, or vinyl. Stay down there, type in some numbers, but you don't have to do it all the time as well. So they've got enough people up there that they can probably just do it once a day each. So you're laughing.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the person doing the night shift.
No.
But yeah, I don't think these 3 episodes have quite set up as many mysteries as by the end of that pilot. And I don't think that even the 3 episodes together are anywhere near as strong as that one pilot was. That did so much to hook in. But I guess after, a time away, it was kind of nice to be eased back into these mysteries. And hopefully in the next couple of episodes we'll start to expand and get a little bit more into it. I mean, Desmond is running amok now on the island. At some point he's got to encounter either Charlie and co, or Sawyer and co, or even Russo, so it's going to be interesting to see how Desmond copes, because he's been living in that little hatch for what, like 3 years, and suddenly he's outside, there's other people. I mean, he's not going to have his little supplies, he's not going to have his music, so it's interesting to see what they do with Desmond. And as we know, Desmond goes on to become like a firm favorite with the fans, so I'm interested to kind of see how he does integrate himself with the wider team. But I think on the whole, these 3 episodes haven't hugely left me sort of like wanting more in the way that they clearly did years ago, otherwise I wouldn't have watched all of them.
Yeah, I think it's a hard balancing act, isn't it? Because those early episodes in season 1, they're trying to hook you in, and they're trying to get you to stick with them for 24 episodes. And they still want you to do that in season 2, but they also want you to have some form of payoff from what you've seen before, so they don't want to throw too much into it. We've got the mystery of a kind of solved mystery already with who's in the hatch with Desmond. We still don't know how he's got there. So I think they've tried to have that balance, and again, watching it the way we are watching it just now is very different. to if you've been waiting for that length of time to try and get back in and find out what's in the hatch. So it is understandable, you know, it is a bit more of an easing in. Maybe there's more mysteries to come. They don't want to front load it with even more questions before you've got any answers from what's came before. So I had that to kind of balance, and I had that to follow in season 1. But, you know, it's one I'm willing to kind of crack on with.
Yes, and I think that's kind of us done on those first 3 episodes. You know, thank you for returning. Please give us a like, rating, and follow wherever you are watching or listening to us. And yeah, we'll be back in a couple of weeks to discuss the next couple of episodes. I think we've got a Hurley episode coming up, and Hurley episodes are always fun.
Yeah, episodes 4 and 5. So Everybody Hates Hugo, and episode 5 is called And Found. So we'll carry on with them next time round, and we'll see you in another life.